Hi, you're listening to Playing Out from the Bar. Please be aware this podcast contains strong language.
Right, can I go now?
This is a genuine Google search. The only person who must have done this before must have been Dobby. It says M62 Football Club Generator. Someone's put that into Google. Doesn't come up with anything, but...
There's an app to be made off that.
Yeah.
We need to get that down made as an app. You could just have an M62 app and loads of different generators off the back of it.
Yeah.
Everything happens on the M62 corridor.
It does. I think the M62 is one of, if not the best motorway in Britain. I'm going to throw that out there. Actually, I genuinely, I've always had good service on there. I was astonished by how quickly I could drive to Liverpool from Lincolnshire. If that's the intro, yeah, I'll make that the intro for this week. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Yep, that really was our music for the first time in about 4 or 5 months. Playing Out from the Bar has returned. I'm delighted to be back in the virtual bar, and I'm joined, as ever, by the two Lewises, Dobby and Tricey. I'm even going to be generous. I'm not even going to do a Corridor of Uncertainty introduction this week. I'm going to throw straight over. Trice, how have you been, mate? Good to see you. Yeah, what have you ordered from the bar tonight?
Hi, boys. Yeah, it's good to be back, isn't it? It's been a fair few months with a bit of a hiatus, but yeah, it's brilliant to be back, and I'm back in style with a pale ale. So one from Aldi today, going back to Series 1.
Nice.
So yeah, looking forward to it, to be honest. Buzzing to be back. It's been a while, hasn't it?
It has been a while, hasn't it? I think like we just touched on briefly, I think the Euros was the last time we spoke, and that definitely feels like a long time ago. And also, yeah, if you're on the pale ale, that's good. I think we might be on for the full set of cliche drinks that each of us would order, because I've had a little glimpse of what Dobby's drinking tonight. Dobby, welcome back to the virtual bar. How are you doing?
Yes, good evening, gents. A pleasure to be back, of course. And I'm on a vino. I'm on a red Shiraz tonight.
Yes.
I have had a few pre-match beers in the concourse though. Went out for some tea and had some. Local lagers, Hebden Bridge lager, Vocation it's called. So first time I've ever had it tonight, and it was all right. Would recommend. But yeah, now I'm got a bottle of red to work through for the duration of this.
I've also been out for my tea tonight, Dobby. What did you have for your?
I actually had went to this place called. There's this place in Leeds, it's called Assembly Underground. There's different food vendors there and a bar, so you've got choice at 5 or 6 different food places. And I actually went for the first time ever for a chicken shawarma and halloumi wrap from this place called Falafel Guys, with a load of random bits in it. So I was going to go with a burger, but I was feeling a little bit adventurous, and I went a bit left field and very diverse tonight.
I was going to say,
chicken shawarma.
That's you turning over a new leaf. This is the new and improved.
Is that the word?
I mean, that's how I'd pronounce it, but I mean, are me and you the best people to be judging that? I don't know. Tricey, any theory? Anything to offer?
No, yeah, I'd agree.
Shawarma.
I'd agree with Dobby.
Shawarma, yeah.
I'd say shawarma. Shawarma, yeah.
With a few bits in it.
Lovely. No, you're ordering it out of trying to feel slightly healthier, but then you end up with a load of yeah.
But no, it was good. Yeah, I went there. Where did you go?
Well, I went to a lovely local boozer. I'm still in Lincolnshire at the moment, so I'm on the and I've been on the Moretti's all night. That's been this is me firmly in Moretti territory, so I've got the glass to go with it, as you can see, which is no benefit for a podcast, but yeah, I feel like this is good. We should say as well, we're recording on a Friday night, which gives it a little bit more of an edge, I think. We don't normally open the virtual bar on a Friday night, and I feel it's a bit like Friday night football. It's got championship feel to it. I'm thinking Coventry City versus Bournemouth. I want to say that's quite a Friday night football game. I don't know.
I'd agree with that.
Can you offer anyone better than that?
I think that is pretty accurate, to be fair. I'm struggling to think of an alternative. Nottingham Forest?
Yeah, Forest actually. Yeah, that's a great
You never,
shout. They are
you
Friday
never
night.
see them kicking off at 3:00 on a Saturday. Yeah. Well, Leeds are probably like 1:00 on a Sunday afternoon, surely.
I don't know, when we was in the Championship, it was a bit all over the place because they obviously have a game or two a weekend.
Yeah.
And typically, we moved a lot. I guess it's now probably Forest because they're probably quite a big pull now, aren't they? But,
Yeah, they've taken on that
yeah,
mantle. We need to catch up, really. What have we all been up to? I think, am I right in saying that we've all probably had new jobs in the time since we last spoke? I mean, I don't want to bring it down to work chat, but I think that's probably the case. Or we're closing in on that. Tracy, you're about to start a new role. Is that correct?
Yeah. So the last day was today, mate. Yeah, but just on why I was thinking about this earlier, like why we actually hadn't done one, and it was like since the Euros, really. And I think for me, it just happened to coincide with being in a blocking out of all things football because I was that low after the Euros, and the fact that we could it felt like a proper summer again, really, didn't it? Where we had more freedoms than before, and I think we've just sort of been out enjoying ourselves, haven't we? Really?
Yeah, I mean, it's felt like this podcast was at its strongest during lockdown, and whilst I don't want lockdown to return, I think there was probably a reason for that. That when we're finally able to get a bit of freedom, we were straight out the door, and it suddenly became a lot harder to organise a recording. But yeah.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Dobby? Anything to report?
Yeah. No, I'd probably take a tactical lockdown now, just to go down.
Don't say that. Me and Trice are not on for that.
No, I don't mean in that. I mean as in going down, faking an injury, getting the physio on just to catch your breath, because I feel like since restrictions lifted, I'm just at the point now where you get to a weekend. It's brilliant. I'm not moaning at all, but I'm just trying to put it in football terms where you just got a lot of catching up to do. Life's actually normal again, and you literally get to a Sunday night and you're like, oh my god, I could literally do with a weekend now, because you've just been here and there and you've been doing loads of stuff and you're just pretty knackered, and then you wake up on Monday for work and you're just oh my god, I'm just so shattered. So I feel like my body is just taking absolute Bielsa pre-season, and now I'm ready to just pull a hamstring and just take 2 weeks off. But that's obviously a good thing. It's been really nice, having a bit of normality again, and being able to soak in football and sport properly within that. But yeah, it's it has obviously meant that we've not been able to get together and catch up. But glad to be here now.
I guess the
fans are saying that we can't do it in a non-COVID time, so we've got a lot to prove, I think, with this series.
Yeah, there's sort of that monkey on our backs of
you're just a lockdown
people always,
podcast.
They used to say to play it is, can you do it on a wet Wednesday night in Stoke? For us, it's can you do it in normalised non-COVID conditions? Can you get in a solid record a month?
We've got the other podcasters chanting at us. Where were you in non-COVID? And at the minute they've got a point.
Yeah, they have. We've got to prove them wrong. This is it. This is where we come together. Get a new manager in, get that team spirit back, and find our form from now until. I mean, God, please let there not be another lockdown. But yeah, if there is, I know that this will be what helps us get through it. Yeah, I suppose that's sort of where we're at in terms of I mean, did we obviously did an episode as well where fans had just come back in at the back end of last season, and now obviously it feels pretty normal again to have the fans in this year. So, I mean, I don't know how many games you two have been to, or if you've experienced that yet. But what do you think in terms of the difference from last season? It's kind of hard to imagine, isn't it now? Football behind closed doors again. We've got so used to it just being normal again, I think.
You two have been to quite a few though, haven't you? I felt like you've been every Leeds game pretty much, haven't you, Dobby, at home, and Jack, you know you've been to a few Newcastle games as well.
Yeah.
Still a few losses between us, haven't we?
Yeah, to be fair, I'm not yet. I'm yet to see a maximum 3 points. But yeah, it took me a while to get back in. But then I kind of felt like it'd been so long because I actually didn't go, like, for various reasons. I didn't get to go a couple of months before COVID's first hit and the first lockdown. So it had been a really long time since I'd last been. And it just, I mean, you just it's just not. You can't even compare like behind closed doors. It doesn't even feel the same. Like it just feels more whether you only draw or lose I've experienced so far this season, but if you draw or you lose and you're coming out the ground, it just hits harder, I think, when you've been there and when you've experienced it. You've got something back from it as well, rather than just watching it soullessly on television. So I'm all up for fans being back, and it's been, I think the atmosphere around every ground seems to have been better just from that COVID gap, really.
Yeah.
What was the one little thing you missed the most? Like you know, when you was back in the ground and you saw it again. What did you enjoy? That one little niche thing.
I was gonna actually save this for later, but I was at the last week. Newcastle played Tottenham, first game under the new ownership, and I think obviously quite a lot of fans came back who had been away for some time, and sort of selfish. They sort of imposed themselves away from St James's. Yeah, and I wasn't lucky enough to be sat near Ant and Deck Dobby, but I was sat near one gentleman who, like, he kept, like weird stuff people shout out, and this guy kept saying whenever Tottenham were in possession, right? Honestly, this he said it. He must have said it like 4 or 5 times at least. Whenever they were in the possession and looking dangerous, he kept shouting to our defence, "Watch out for the number 10." And the Tottenham number 10 is obviously Harry Kane. And I just after he did it the third time, I just sort of turned to him and went, "What? Do you mean Harry Kane?" It's like I'm sort of looking at him like, why doesn't he just shout, "Watch out for Kane," rather than if it was like Sunday League style, "Watch out for their number 10," as if we didn't know who he was.
Doesn't it? Where's he come from?
I just thought, I know some fans might have not been in during the Ashley era, but how long has this guy been away from football? Because that baffled me. That was the little thing I missed though, Trish. Just the shouts from the crowd. Those weird shouts from the crowd that you can't replicate them in your own home.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, the thing I missed, because I went to Scunthorpe away at Rochdale, and the thing I missed was like the little, not actually the game, because the game was dreadful, so I don't really miss anything about the game. It was like like walking to the ground before and sitting in trying to find a pub to drink where there's other away fans, for example, or trying to find your way to a stadium that you've not been to in a while, things like that. Trying to find but just been annoyed at the price of stadium food and stuff like that. I found quite refreshing, to be honest.
Yeah, just sort of that hustle and bustle of getting to the ground almost being better than actually once you get there, and like you say, just getting a nice beer and getting served before a game. That's been something I've missed, isn't it? But yeah,
that's definitely got one of the uniquenesses about, I think, the lower leagues in England, that whilst the Premier League and stuff, the game can obviously be really good and top quality, top draw, and that is the main pull of the day. I think in League 2, the fact is that the game contributes 5 or 10% to the day, so it's all the supporting factors around it that are actually what make the day good or bad, what warrants it being a good kind of day out. I think in League 2, Trish, you're completely right in that. I think the things that you remember and you enjoy the most is just the small little aspects of it. So I like that.
Do you think almost I don't want to say the result matters less, but that sort of gets that sort of is extended when the further down the pyramid you go, isn't it? Because if you think about going to watch local non-league team where you're just going just to stand there and just have a plastic pint in your hand, I mean that's kind of the result is almost irrelevant for some people who go and watch that standard of football.
Yeah.
But that's like part of the experience, I think, as well.
Yeah, I think so, definitely. And before like mentioning Leeds, I went to my first Scunthorpe game this season the other week away at Harrogate, which is like relatively local for me now. It's only half an hour.
Did
on
you
the
go
train
to
from
that?
Leeds.
Did you though?
Yeah, and I think this is a great example. Like to me, absolutely great day. Like left the flat about 10:30 in the morning. Like met up with some friends in Leeds and some friends who also were travelling via came from Scunthorpe but via Leeds. So went to Harrogate, obviously a nice place. I think that's the good thing about League Two. You visit place. It's not like big cities. Like Harrogate's quite fortunate. It's a nice place.
And like a
classy
new
away
ground
for
as
League
well,
Two.
like a new football league ground. Yeah.
And it's just going to this new place, trying to figure out like where to go and stuff, and then so you've like your 5 or 6 hours of your day is pretty much gone before you even get to the ground. And I ended up being about 20 minutes late to the game because my mate dropped his ticket when we were walking there. So me and him had to go and try and find his ticket. So when we walked into the ground, already had like a few drinks. He'd dropped his ticket, just found it. We were just as we walked in, Scunny conceded the third goal. So I walked in and they were like, and the crowd were going mad. I was like, "Oh, what score is it?" It was like, "That's 3," and I was like, "What? What?" And like, we're only 15 minutes late. And then by half time it was 5-0, and at that point half the group decided they'd had enough, and then half the group decided they were going to see it out, and I was in the group that decided I'd had enough, so I went back to where I just came from 20 minutes prior to go and drink.
I swear this is a recurring theme of your away days. Wasn't there some other away day you told us about from years previous where like half the group had decided to leave early or something? Like I think Wakefield might have been involved in the previous one.
Yeah, I think that was Leeds on the way to Barnsley, and but I think there is this ability in the lower divisions where you can just go to this like random town for like a day and go to the football and either just not be asked about it or literally leave because it is that poor, but then the day isn't necessarily like compromised because there's just so much else like going on, which I think is really, really quite fun. Like, and then you just wake up the next day and you're like, bloody hell, that was a long old day, wasn't it? Like, I left the house at 9 in the morning and got in at whatever.
Yeah, it's
time.
kind of like the days of blur, isn't it? You've just like written it off entirely, and yeah. I mean, I don't know what's worse: you seeing Scunthorpe get smacked for 5 at Harrogate, or try to go and watch a 0-0 drab door at Rochdale. I mean, I know that's probably saying a lot about Scunthorpe's form, but they're the 2 away days we've got so far in the bank for this podcast.
Yeah,
Scunthorpe really need to pick their act up this season.
Yeah, but I think that's the beauty of football. I wouldn't have it any other way. I think that's been a really nice way to have it back. I know for me as well, going back to a Leeds account, obviously being in Leeds now and being a season ticket holder, this is like the first season where I've been living in Leeds whilst watching, like having a season ticket. So it's a bit of a new one for me because previously me and my dad would travel together from home, like from Scunthorpe, or I would like go home from wherever I was to travel with him. So like this season, it's like a change of routine where our new routine is he gets the train to Leeds. So tomorrow I'm meeting him at the station at 12:15. And then we'll do we're currently in the process of trying to figure out our like pre-match routine, like what bar we're trying out. We're sampling different bars.
You're trying to get a new warm-up routine.
We're open-minded at the minute. Like we're there to be kind of like picked up by tempting pubs, but that's quite nice. Like a bit of a new post-COVID new routine, and then doing like the pre-match around town and stuff rather than driving, going to the game, and then he gets the train back in the evening. So great to be back, obviously, because I think just no matter how the season started, it was the first game or two. First game was definitely like overwhelming, just buzzing to be back, and then I think you do just fall back into the habit of like going with this high expectation and like this anxiety again, and it's like you. Like it means business. You want to stay up or whatever, but I'm enjoying the new kind of like pre-match, post-match routines that are coming with it. So it's got a bit of a different spin on it this year.
Did it almost feel like last season the proper Premier League return, and this year feels like that because I don't know. Even as a neutral, seeing Leeds go to Manchester United on the first game of the season, it's like it felt real this year. It didn't feel as exciting last year as a neutral because it was behind closed doors. But that fixture with fans in, with 75,000 in there, I don't know. It just seemed had a bit more edge to it. I think this year.
Yeah, I think it definitely does now feel like reality, and it does almost feel like a bit of what was last year. But then in the same hand, it comes with this added expectation because they managed to like get a 9th place finish. So I think there's a bar there for each individual player from last year and how they performed within the Premier League that now people are like benchmarking them against. So it's almost like this new buzz of like, oh, brilliant, back in the Premier League, experiencing it as a fan. But then on the other hand, it's like, what's happened to so and so who was doing this last year? Like, so it is a very weird kind of like dynamic. But I'm just enjoying it really. I don't try to get too worried about it.
I actually went up to Newcastle for the Leeds game, which we drew 1-1, and it was a Friday night game, and that's another thing I've missed. Just chatting, we were just sat outside the Red House on the quayside having a few pints, and then just got chatting to some Leeds fans who were also down there. But like, obviously there was a bit of, I refrain from using the word banter, but there was a bit of like back and forth. But then like you just have a bit of a you just have like a good like I don't know, just a good football conversation before the game. Like I think you can tell when you fan, even if you go like just semi-regularly to football, you can always tell who also does, even if they're from the opposition, and you can have that sort of just decent chat about the game pre-match. That's one of the things I've missed and what I enjoyed about being back in the bars pre-match. But yeah, definitely good stuff, Dobby. Trice, anything to add?
I was just thinking of the best thing I've actually seen since the football season started, and it wasn't anything to do with my club. I was actually going to Leeds. I was on the 8:30 train from Burnley to Leeds, right? And a group of like 60-year-olds had already been on the train from Blackburn. Honestly, 8:30 in the morning, they were cracking open tins of John Smith's. Like, you could tell like it was just going to be a great day for them. Blackburn Rovers shirts on, Blackburn Rovers tattoos on the legs, and there was just like, I was sort of in earwigging distance of them, and they was going to watch Blackburn at Middlesbrough, so they were getting the train from Blackburn to York and then changing at York and going up to Middlesbrough. And honestly, the rate they were going, they would have been well oiled for that game. And I just thought like, yeah, football's back. Like you can go on a train at 8:30 in the morning and see a group of men going for an away day.
Yeah. That's what it's all about. That's what we want. That's what we've missed. Our train stations up and down the country have missed that on a Saturday at 8:30. Definitely.
I think the ones that missed it are very like the interchange type stations, like Doncaster, where it's just like this random. I don't know why Doncaster. I'm sure there's like equivalents elsewhere.
Peterborough as well, just by being on the East Coast line. I think Peterborough, like, Doncaster.
If you were there on a Saturday afternoon, you could probably spot about 10 different shirts, just like wandering around, like getting a connection train.
Fuck it, chuck Newark Northgate in there as well.
Yeah, train from Doncaster got everywhere. It's memory. I think you go to St Ives from Doncaster, which is absolute madness. Most connected random place in the world, like on a national level.
Maybe that could be a good on-the-road episode for us, just see how far we can get away from Doncaster, but within the fewest minimum stops. So like within 2 stops.
I thought you was going to say just sitting at Doncaster train station.
What, just for a day?
We're recording from platform 1.
Might move over to platform 7 if it get later on.
Just call people over. And where are you going today? What game are you going to watch today?
Actually, the more I think about this is quite a good idea. Yeah,
it's a hub for Northern football.
It's never been done. Exactly. There was one thing I wanted to raise from the social. It's not even the social corner, really. This is just something that I picked this up about 2 months ago, and I just thought I'll save this for the first episode back, and then just see what you both made of it. So, I've kept this a surprise. I've not revealed this, but I'm actually going towards you here, Tricey. I've managed to dig out an article from a club me and you have both represented down the years, local non-league club, Winterton Rangers, and I've actually found sort of a little interview that you've done for the Winterton Rangers website, just picking some of your favourites. Now,
is it got like what's your favourite boxer?
This is a stitch up.
This is I'm interested to know. Like, obviously, this was done some time ago, but I'm interested to see what your tastes are like to the answers that you gave when you gave this interview.
Do you know what? I think I'm certain at the time here. I reckon my mum and dad have still got the programme for this interview.
Oh no, this could ruin it. If you get all these answers, then this is gonna absolutely burst my bubble and ruin the fun.
I'll play it as a 10 years up. Post.
Yeah. Play this with a trailer. Yeah. What we'll do is we'll review your answers from. I mean, I can see you were 19 when you gave this interview. So we'll review your answers from when you were 19 and then compare them to what it's like now. So, nickname, the first question, Tricey. No. Yep, that's fine. We still call you Tricey. I'll happily take that. Team you support, you've gone for Liverpool/Scunthorpe. I'm just intrigued about the slash. Are you going to stick with that?
To be honest, I think I'd probably stick to Scunthorpe now. I think my allegiance has faded. I used to go to a lot of Liverpool games, but to be honest, I don't know, I got localised. Like, Scunthorpe were always my club, but
your number one. Liverpool was sort of your second team. You had to,
Since Roy Hodgson got
that was a turning point. I think I'm a bit anti-Premier League as a person. So
just generally,
that's my logic. Yeah.
Yeah. No, very good. Well, past the next question, bizarrely, is this isn't actually a question you can give an opinion on. This is past teams. That's which I'm not sure is grammatically correct anyway. But past teams, obviously Scunthorpe and Brig, they were the two clubs Tricey was on the books for before this. So that hasn't changed. But then we get into the really interesting stuff. The next one is favourite food. Now, go on. What would you say now, Tricey, for yourself in 2021?
I think I'd
peanuts.
Calzone.
Oh, well.
You think that's what you said? That is what it would be now, or
that's what you would have now. That's quite continental. A bit of a difference to your original answer, which was just chicken and ribs.
Yeah, you have. Yeah, it's just.
Yeah, so you're on chicken and ribs, Trice. That's the answer you've given.
Chicken
and ribs. No specifics on sauce, which leaves me slightly disappointed.
Wait, I've got a question. When we say like chicken and ribs, like what does this mean? Because to me, like you either like chicken or you like ribs. Like
yeah, you can't have both. You've basically gone for two meals there, Trice.
Yeah, it's like having a curry.
What were Winston Rangers feeding you that you felt you needed two main meals?
And I feel that this is a reference to a mixed grill type dish from the Beefeater near Morrison's. It was a chicken and ribs combo with like fries. That was superb. Yeah, but I think that's a bit of a cop out. That's a cop out answer from me. Been under the spotlight of not really wanting to do an interview.
You're not really willing to give anything away there, are you? You're just like chicken and ribs. Like you don't want to.
Chicken's very like I don't know, like diverse food group now. Like you can get chicken in all sorts of forms, textures, and tastes. So I feel like you're playing very.
I am aware of
just getting chicken. Just gets brought some dry chicken. Like that's that's the athlete's diet.
Yeah, go on, God.
The next question. I mean, the next question is my personal highlight of the whole interview. This one's favourite music, right? Favourite music. Presume they mean act rather than just genre. And Tracy's responded with Kasabian / Calvin Harris. Now, like that's a broad spectrum between those two tries. You've got indie rock hard, noughties idols Kasabian, but then you've also got Calvin Harris, like the most mainstream answer you could go for.
Yeah, I think maybe because at the time as well, that was Kasabian is obviously one of my favourite bands, but I think at the time Calvin Harris did have some bangers like in the pop charts, and it was around the time like you.
Yeah. Friday night tries.
Shout out like DJ Rob Peach Mellor for a Lincolnshire reference.
I mean, Kasabian were headlining Glastonbury, I think, around sort of 2013. So, you know what? You wouldn't be far off. It wouldn't have been an unreasonable choice at the time. I think fair play to you there, Trice.
Calvin Harris, that's...
But just the difference, I really wish they'd have gone, no, you've got to pick. You've got to choose Kasabian or Calvin Harris. You can't have both. Like, that's a clear choice of who you are as a person. The next one is favourite film. And again, of the time, you've gone for Batman, Dark Knight Rises. So you've specified on that one.
Yeah, I think that would probably still exist, to be honest. Yeah.
Really, that's still up there as one of your favourite flicks now.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Not
Next
Mike
question. Well, yeah. Mike Bassett, Borat, Dark Knight Rises. There you go.
Right, the next one we've got Ambition. That was to play at Wembley. I mean, is that still your ambition, Trice? Would you stick with that, or
It takes some going.
do you feel you were closer to Wembley when this interview was done than now?
There had to be a. No, I still think
Still
charity
ambition.
games, something like that. Yeah, you can still play at Wembley. I think everyone would like that.
You take a penalty at half time.
You know where they get like the 10-year-olds playing at half time? Yeah, just. I'll play the holding role for a five-a-side team at Wembley at half time.
Or they get some bloke out the crowd just to do crossbar challenge. I mean, that might qualify as playing at Wembley if you could somehow work that.
Yeah.
I might, parents who have a bet on their child to like get an England cap or whatever, and you hear about it happening every now and then. Like they put a fiver on it when they're born. I might have a fiver on trying to play at Wembley. So when he gets his,
What, from now? There must be some good odds.
When he gets a soccer aid call up in like 30 years, and they're doing it at Wembley because he's had a big spin-off show.
Yeah,
so big draw for like soccer aid, and that pays off.
You'd get good odds, seeing as though. Do you remember Chris Kirkland, the ex-Liverpool Coventry keeper?
Yeah.
His dad did that and got odds of like 100 to 1, I think, and ended up coming away with like 100 grand. I think his dad and granddad put £1,000 on him or something daft.
Yeah.
So I think, given at the time he was already in the England youth setup as like a 14-year-old, I think you'd get really good odds on me making an appearance at Wembley at 27 and overweight.
You know what? My big ambition of this podcast in its first series was to prove that Pele was a fraud. My big ambition for the third season is to get Tricey just to kick a ball at Wembley, or just to step out onto the Wembley grass. That's my new.
Give everyone a wave. Welcome out, Lewis Trice. Just got his scarf on, give it away. I'm just thinking, if I went into Ladbrokes tomorrow, I was like, hey mate, I want to put a fiver on Lewis Trice to get an appearance at Wembley. What do you reckon? Like they would ask, like, how old is he? Like, what does he do? Like, how tall is he?
If we showed them this interview, then maybe that would affect their odds. I don't know.
Like, would they just generate some odds out of thin air? Just be like, just go on the phone to head office, and then they'd be like, yeah, I've just spoken with Sandra. She said
20,000 to 1 at it.
What did you say? Does again? How many kids?
Yeah, is it one kid or two? I mean, do you want me to? Are we carrying on with this interview? I mean, I still want to.
Oh yeah.
How many?
There's a lot we've got to dig into here, Trice. We're only just getting started,
right, okay.
really. There's a lot more. I mean, the next one I'm not going to make fun of because there's nothing funny about it. You've just been asked worst experience, and you've put having an operation. So I'm just going to side over that one and move on to the next one, which was most embarrassing / funny experience. I mean, I don't know what the Winston Rangers media guy was looking to get out of you here, but clearly it was something like slightly, tabloidy. And your answer is, this is the quote answer. I'm not changing any of this. Going arse over tit at skiing, then sliding head first down the mountain. Although mountain is spelled.
Well, it's funny you say that, Jack. I'm going to stop you there because someone else in this podcast betrayed me massively in that incident. And let me set the scene. So this is Bormio 3000. We're doing the about 2009, so about 14. Our ski group basically has gone down, and me and Dobby have waited at the back and basically just like, right, we're bombing down this fucking hill. And going really fast, and I hit like a little bump. Dobby's already ahead of me. So I'm going arse over tit, I'm rolling down the mountain, my skis have flown off in front of me. I'm sliding head first. Dobby is literally like at the edge of the mountain, and I'm like, Dobby, stop me, Dobby, stop me. The guy, what a good mate he is, he saves my skis, doesn't he, and lets me fucking slide off into a tree off the edge of the mountain. If that tree had been there, I'd have gone bloody 3,000 foot drop.
Well, so he went to grab the skis that were.
Dobby chose some ski rental skis over me.
I do wonder what goes through your head sometimes, Dobby. Like, in a crisis like that.
The funny thing was, like, he actually had to shuffle like a little bit, like do a bit of a pingu walk to get the skis. Where if he just stayed still, he would have gone. I think, in fairness, he probably just saw me at travelling at some speed and thought, I don't want to get hit by that.
I remember the look in your eyes still, Tri. So like that general, like, I just can't stop myself. What will be, will be. And I remember, just going past me and off the edge of the mountain. But I did save your skis, and I reckon they'd have been tough to fish out. Like, they would have gone a fair way. So
that's so Dobby, always pulling the company line. I'll take the higher skis back. Yeah, make sure they're all right. Don't want to get charged.
Don't lose your deposit.
Yeah, don't lose your deposit.
Yeah, I do remember that. That was.
It was.
Probably a bad shot.
Funny though, because like, I was going that fast. Like, I actually overtook the rest of our ski group who were on skis, and I was just free fall.
Yeah.
See, I've been skiing multiple times, but I can just from knowing Dobby, I can imagine that he would just be that would be his response to if someone was flying down a mountain, just like not do anything to actually help.
Cheers, Dobby.
My split second thinking probably wasn't scratched there, but we're all here now. That's the main thing, and the ski hire company.
All in one piece.
Oh yeah, the ski hire company.
But yeah, that is it. That was funny, and you did go, as the quotes say, arse over tits. So, and I can
that is, I mean, that's direct quote. That's in print now, Trash. You can't change that. You went arse over tit at skiing.
Is that still your most embarrassing moment? Funny moment, Try? So.
I feel there's probably some more if I could think about it. Yeah.
Boozed up one since then.
I was going to say, if that's 2009 and that's still standing strong, that would be impressive.
No, there's several others really.
The next, we've only got two more. You'll be pleased to know. The next one is this is a weird one actually. I don't know why they're asking you this. They've asked you who's the longest in the shower, and your answer is equally strange. It's just probably me. That's what you get. Not just me. Probably me.
Yeah. There's always like a longer shower group, isn't there? Like, you have a bit of a chat, have a bit, So yeah, probably.
Or is that what it is? Is like longest in the shower asked in those dressing room questions because it's like who's the chattiest, basically. Not
the chattiest. It's more just sort of, there's always like a vanity element to it. Obviously not me, but I just be you can
Well,
quote
it
that,
was-
Jack.
it
I
was
like
you.
a chat in the shower.
It was you back in 2013, Trice. This was you. You were the longest in the
who's
shower
the-
for Winston Rangers.
Longest in the shower now, Trice, in your in your household. Is it still you? You still got that title?
Yeah. You know my thoughts,
Is that a
Tommy. I
weird
love a
question?
good. I love a good, been with your own thoughts in the shower.
Yeah. Safe place.
Do you have any preference on
Yeah.
shower gel, Trice? Have you got any tips in that regard? Or do you like to mix it up?
If you're still with us, this football podcast we're talking shower gels. No, I just use whatever's on the side, to be honest. Yeah.
Okay, all right. It's a disappointing answer, but yeah, that's fine. We've got favourite player was your last one. Do you have any recollection of who you might have gone for back then?
I think I would have gone for Steven Gerrard here.
I reckon it's gone
No.
for Michael O'Connor. That's centre midfielder.
Yeah, he's gone for Zinedine Zidane, lads. That was the answer. So not
that's
quite,
fair enough.
but good effort.
I'm more impressed with, Jack, the fact that you've managed to dig that out. I thought that was lost away in the archives of the internet. Like,
No, I mean there's a cracking photo that goes with it as well, but we'll have to save that for our social media, I think.
that is a real stitch up. That I could.
But the thing is, like, the interesting thing for me, Trice, is like part of my job recently. I've been doing these sort of interviews, like one's called like teammates that we do, and it's like who's always late to training, or who's always worst on who's most likely to embarrass themselves on the Christmas party, that sort of question. And sometimes you have to work a bit to actually try and get people to give the answers out of them to get some decent stuff. But you're straight in there with your answers, and yeah, I mean it must have been an easy day for the Winston Rangers media manager.
Funny though, isn't it? Like, who actually is reading the Winston Rangers programme and going, "I'll never have him down as a chicken and roost man."
Oh, bloody hell, I need to go see Batman Dark Knight Rises now. Now the centre half
it's
fancies
just-
it.
It's just one of them things, right? Where he's gone on a bit now. Like, it's just where like local non-league teams are trying the best to sort of step into what professional clubs are doing. Like, you see non-league clubs now, and they've got like goal celebration videos and stuff, haven't they?
Yeah,
And
true. Yeah,
all that. I think that's the natural progression of it.
no, you're right. Yeah, I mean,
In 5 years' time, there'll be like a fan TV channel for each club.
Oh wow, like that.
so we best just before we close time on the virtual bar for this fantastic Friday night, boys. Why don't we touch base with our own clubs a bit like we did at the start of Series 1. I mean, Tricey, like you say, I know it's obviously we've mentioned a couple of Scunthorpe games there earlier in the episode, but yeah, it's obviously been a difficult start to the season for Scunthorpe United. How have you taken it as a fan, and what are your thoughts and feelings on it?
Yeah, good question. So, for those that don't know, we are rock bottom of the Football League at the moment. 92 out of 92. We're in a bad position, and I think there's a lot of who's to blame. Is it the manager? Is it the players? Is it the owner? Is it a combination of everyone, really? In my opinion, it stems from overspending. Like a few, maybe last year when we first started this, was asking about our club's ambitions for that season, and I just said, as long as we exist, I'm happy. And that is again my. So I don't really mind. This sounds negative. I don't mind if we finish bottom and get relegated, as long as we can be a National League club and exist. That sounds really. But my biggest concern, and I think what's likely to happen, is that the club will not exist due to how it's been run, and financially the position it's in. I just can't see it. It's not sustainable. They've got us. the thing is, they've got no assets now. I don't know if I told you this. The chairman sold the ground to himself to clear up some debt.
I mean, that's just, how can you even do that? Like, that's something I think an independent regulator would need to look at for every club. Like, how can a club not have a ground? Do you know what I mean? Like, surely it's the fundamental basis of any football club.
Yeah, it's strange. And then like we've cut our wage budget massively from the past few years, but we've now got, honestly, if you want my opinion, we mentioned Winston Rangers earlier, Jack, and just took the piss out of me a bit, but I'm convinced that Scunny would finish below Winston Rangers at the minute in terms of where they're at. I think they're a team of kids that are not good enough and non-league players that probably would struggle at that level against experienced blokes, really. I feel, and it's just a bit of a sorry time, really. I know, like the other end of the spectrum, your club, Newcastle, fantastic, like dreaming, optimism coming back, change of owners, but I joke about it, but if the likelihood is the only change of owner is going to be if a Scunthorpe fan wins the Euro Millions and buys the club. Otherwise, they're on a real dark descent downwards.
Do you think it is that? So like, there's no chance of. I know what you mean. It's like you need almost like a local businessman who's got both. The problem is with owning football clubs is like you need to be willing to lose money because it's no guarantee of a return.
It's a thankless task.
Yeah,
Peter Swan's invested like £20 million of his own money, and the club are 2 divisions lower than when he first took over, and don't have a ground or a training ground in their own name. So it's like, what the fuck's been going on?
I think though, like you can just even like rewinding. I know you said your comments last season, Trice, but I think conversations like that, I think particularly with yourself, were happening probably even prior to last year, where you could preempt this maybe 3 seasons ago, where for Scunthorpe, who had like this amazing kind of like fairy tale ride into the Championship in the 2000s under like a good manager, a good like squad, and just that it was their time as a League One club to have that experience in the Championship, which you see happens with like Yeovil and Wickham and stuff, but it's what happens after that. And he came in, and I think definitely over his expectations at a club level were massively ambitious that couldn't be sustainable and supported, and he took that punt to try and get them into the Championship, but the way in which he did it was just so financially like unstable. And it was, I think, once the first season after, when they missed out on when they were in the playoffs twice and they just missed out on automatics, I think like you said at that point then, it's like, well, where does it go from here? That's 2 years of like a massive gamble. This club, even in them high times there, we're only getting crowds of 5,000, 6,000. That can't sustain top half League One football with what we've just thrown at. That can't balance the books after the money we've thrown at it for like 2 years. So I think it was like preempted back then, wasn't it? And it's just been that downward spiral ever since then. And I think it does just feel like a distant memory now, them top half, like top of League One, thinking that I think the fans as well got it in their head a little bit that there was a right that they should almost be challenging to get back in the Championship because they had that 3 or 4 seasons. Like I say, I think this that every League One club kind of has that phase in their history, and we were lucky to be very much part of that with Scunthorpe. But I think realistically, Scunthorpe have always been a League Two club with the ability to get into League One and have a strong like a duration there quite solidly, but the ambition to be anything more than that just seems a little bit crazy, and financially very vulnerable as well by going at it like that. I don't know if you would agree. Well, I know you'd agree because that's literally what you said.
Yeah, it's the expectation, isn't it, that makes owners make rash decisions. Really, like it's an ego thing. Really, I think it boils down to like every chairman, whether it's Peter Swan at Scunthorpe or Yeovil's chairman, Chesterfield's chairman, they want to be the person that's in a local paper stood like, little Scunthorpe back in the Championship type thing. That's what they want, I think. And the fans want to be, in the that they think that a few years in, like you said, a few years in there, they've got a right to challenge, and it's just sort of like it's created a negative optimism, I would say, in the past few years, and not optimism, expectation rather. If you actually look at that era where I follow a football finance expert on Twitter, Kieran Maguire, is brilliant, and he basically, whenever he tweets about Scunthorpe, I'm really alarmed because it's not good. And he's put something in, and it was like, for the past 3 years, Scunthorpe, this pre-League Two, so those League One years, they were spending like £1.70 on wages for every £1 in revenue they made. So like, how on earth is that sustainable when you've got average attendance? You know, it wasn't like they were the 6th biggest club. They had the 6th biggest budget, but the lowest attendances in that league. We were challenging for promotion. So that's like...
It would
I worry that... Go on, Jack, sorry.
I was just going to say, I think I just want to emphasise for people, perhaps people who listen who don't that aware of Scunthorpe United or aware of the area or the local history, but like they are quite a sort of solid football league club relatively. Like we're not talking a club that normally dices out of non-league and then throws back into football league. Like they've been, I mean, I don't know when the last year was that they were first football league.
They've never been out since they've been in the football league. They've never
been relegated, have they? So it's not like, exactly, so it's not like, I don't know, there's no history to this. There's no guarantees that the club will thrive and it will actually be a good thing to get them back to they'll just bounce back and come back stronger. I don't think there's any, it's very dangerous to assume that. So I just think that's why it's like just making sure people who aren't aware of the club know that. And like, because sometimes you just see a club in like League Two and you think, oh yeah, they'll always be there, but it's like it has a massive impact on not just the team but the whole local economy.
It's the gap between the League Two and the conference now as well. It's I think it's got to be the most difficult league to. Well, it definitely is the most difficult league to get back up from. If you go down, you see teams come up like Harrogate, Barrow, Forest Green.
Yeah,
Crawley,
they've all got money and ambition, haven't
they? They hit the ground running. Like, it's rare that you see a team come up and who are like fighting to stay up. They've got the momentum, they've got the money, and I think, and because there's that many poor teams now in League Two, and there's that many good teams in the conference who have got battling it out for 2 spots, 1 automatic and 1 playoff. And each year you see like clubs like Wrexham, Chesterfield falling short, like Yeovil again, who had that championship run in only like 10 years back, and who I knew were a conference team before, but it just shows that you can drop down to that level and just you're just there, and you've just got to exist there for a long time, because it's 2 teams that go up, and everyone probably, half that league now probably feels that they've got a right to be back in the football league, and it's pretty scary. That's the scary thought to me now as well. It is that, and I think like Tri said, it's not a case of, it's almost like the existence is probably the key factor more than anything now, because there's a lot of other teams and clubs of similar size, statures, who have kind of had some really tricky downfalls, like right down the pyramid or into like non-existence. So why would Scunthorpe be any different when it can happen to clubs like, I think Bury's the perfect example in like the most modern day era anyway. And it's if it can happen to Bury, I think are the definition of what you would have called a solid League One, League Two club, then anybody probably, besides maybe 5 clubs in League One, that can happen to any one of them if the change of fortunes happens.
Yeah, it's a dark time, and a lot of finger pointing going on really at the ownership. Swiftly moving on from the depression and talking wanker owners, we can move on to talk other owners, Jack. Newcastle, come on. You must be. How do you feel about it? You must be. Honestly, do you have any reservations given like the regime's background? I know it's not officially Saudi Arabia, but
no.
Do you have any reservations on it, or are you just full steam ahead? Let's buy Mbappe.
No, I as boring as it is for some people, I do have complete reservations with it. But I think the difficulty for me is, and I get that people outside of Newcastle, I don't expect them to understand this, but like, it's funny, I went to that game against Tottenham at the weekend, and my first mate who I saw in the pub who I'd not seen since before COVID, and said, you know, what were you celebrating on that Thursday night when the takeover got announced? Were you celebrating the new owners, or were you celebrating the end of Ashley? And he said the end of Ashley, and that's what I said as well. Like, there's a lot of us out there. I'm not saying all Newcastle fans, but I think a big part of that fan base was just get Ashley out, and we were ABA, anyone but Ashley. As soon as a new owner comes in, we're going to be celebrating it. Doesn't matter who they are. Obviously, like, now that's sort of settled down a bit. You can't move away from the moral dilemma of it and where this money's coming from, and I mean, you can't defend the human rights record of Saudi Arabia, can you? Like, no one in the Western civilized world can do that. But does that mean they shouldn't be in? Has that ship already sailed in terms of the other owners that are already in the league? I think it possibly has. And my biggest worry is, like, there's two ways. For a start, the Newcastle takeover could go completely to shit, and we could be in the Championship, and they could be wanting to sell within 2 seasons. That's one part of me. And the other part of me thinks, like, even if they want to invest and want to spend money, are the elite as they are now, as we saw in April, and we did our episode after that Super League announcement, are they not already trying to bring up the drawbridge and stop the likes of Newcastle, Everton, Leeds getting close to them? Because it feels like they're trying to stop that. There's already been a motion passed this week where the Premier League clubs have voted that on sponsorship deals, that you can't be doing sponsorship deals with ties to the owners to boost your books.
So is that like Etihad means?
Yeah. I mean, interestingly, tries Man City were the only abstainers from the vote, and the other 18 clubs voted to pass the motion.
If Chef Wednesday were in the Prem, Chancery would have been fucked. That's been their shirt sponsor for the past decade.
Sponsored every player as well. Kit sponsor for every player each season.
A kit sponsor is still available for Sam Hutchinson. Yeah. I have got complete reservations, and there's no getting away from that. But equally, just being in the stadium for the first post-Ashley game, I mean, to be honest, it's hard to sum up in like just a few minutes talking to you lads, and I don't want to turn it into a Newcastle podcast. You could probably do a whole hour on the takeover and a whole hour on Steve Bruce and him leaving, but like, the first few minutes of that game in St James's was like nothing I've experienced since I was about, 10 years old, 9 years old. It's a long time, and that was amazing to be a part of that, just to be part of that atmosphere. But then, like, you're walking down Gallagher past the Strawberry, and you're seeing people in like with tea towels on their head, shouting Saudi mags, and you're like, is that right? Do I want to be part of that? I saw someone holding up a Saudi Arabia flag in front of the Sir Bobby Robson statue on Sunday, and that didn't sit right with me either. I was kind of like, I don't think that's what he'd want. So, but they're the questions we've got to come to. But it's just, we're just the latest. We're just the latest in a long line of that for modern football. And I think the key is that other clubs can get close to that elite, even if it has to come through out of the ethics of how it comes. Clubs have to be able to dream, and we can now dream again, albeit with strong moral reservations.
Yeah.
Do you know what I've enjoyed, Jack, about the Newcastle takeover? I've enjoyed like the bits of sloppy punditry from the media. So, like, did you see Jamie Redknapp's quote where it was like, to be honest, fans don't really care who owns the club?
I mean, I was at the game, but I heard about that after, yeah.
Literally, the game is covering the fans have protested every week about who owns the club.
The whole reason the stadium was absolutely rocking on Sunday was because that previous owner wasn't there anymore. And then he said, I saw Redknapp say that, yeah. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's a bit weird as well. Like, suddenly everyone's got to focus on Newcastle, and there's like pundits. It's interesting, isn't it? The pundits who are like, you can tell who's focused on just the top 6 normally, or the traditional Champions League teams. You can tell who's focused on that, and then suddenly they have to switch their attention, and they're kind of a bit all over the place.
It is weird how everyone's all of a sudden kind of got an opinion. And I mean, it is such a controversial topic. Like I say, controversial, but you know what I mean. But it is interesting that the opinions that you do just seem like stemming around. It is so tricky. Like I think you've covered it really well there, Jack. And that's like, if everyone had that approach, we'd live in a good world. And like, I think it's I can completely get what you mean about like. Even though you've not had, like with Newcastle, it's one of them weird ones, isn't it? Where I think on one hand, sometimes I sit there and think like, has it really been that bad? But then at the same time, it's like you've just existed for like your lifetime, haven't you? Since like post Shearer, it's just like all you've done is just been there with like no purpose.
Exactly.
Like,
don't get me wrong. I see people on Twitter throwing that back at us all the time, like saying, I saw some Hull fans saying it, and some reporters, I can't remember which reporter it was, but it was like saying, oh, talk to Blackpool fans about bad ownership. Talk to Bury fans, like we just mentioned. It's like, I get that, but Newcastle don't have a monopoly on bad owners in football. I don't think anyone was trying to claim that they do. And clearly there's a lot worse than just existing. But it's all relative. Like, I'm not, without being disrespectful to the likes of Hull, Blackpool, Bury, who've suffered from bad owners in recent years, they didn't break the world transfer record only, like, 25 years ago. They weren't playing Champions League football only 17 years ago. So it's all relative to your club, isn't it? It's like you can't expect a Newcastle fan to be happy they exist just because Bury have gone to the Dogs 2 years ago. I don't think that's how it works either. But I get what you say. I do agree with what you're saying as well. Like, I'm
not saying that. I don't know particularly what I say. I think it's so tricky because like when it is your team, like. And it is so tough in this situation because I think there is nowadays in football just such a like I don't know, like stability is sometimes a rare thing, and in a weird way you have had stability, but at the same time, like, what is the point in like you've not had any reason to be kind of ambitious. There's been no ambition at any season. You never got into a season with any kind of like hope or any expectation beyond other than like a top half finish.
Yeah.
And it has all been relatively okay and stable. And I think, but at the same time, like, what is the point in that? It is just, and you put it perfectly. Then, like, it's horses for courses.
Again,
these kind of things. Newcastle's a club that like you said, broke the record for Champions League contenders. The size of like the club in the city, the expectation should really be a lot higher than just we survive within the Premier League each year and we turn over an alright amount of money and I agree with you in that sense.
It's that thing in it about like I don't expect to. I think the cups are key. I think like one of the big things Mike Ashley was come out and say we're not interested in the cups, but clubs in the middle of the Premier League or wanting to be in the middle, ideally not in a relegation battle, you you can't win the league, so your cups are all you've got to go for. If you can get a day out at Wembley, go for the FA Cup, go for the League Cup. I think that's becoming more and more important for those clubs. And like, to be fair, don't want to just bang on about Newcastle all night, but one of the things I did say on our first episode, I think, when we were talking about the clubs we support, is I always say to some Newcastle fans when Ashley was there, I'd always say, do you want Ashley, or I could offer you an owner who would just spend amounts of money they didn't have for 3 or 4 years, just go on a wild spending spree and maybe win a cup or push for European football, but you might be risking the club's whole financial future. And I'd be interested, and a lot of fans didn't want to answer that question, and I think now perhaps we might have to answer it. Like, who knows what's going to happen around the corner? You just don't know, do you?
My question now, which on this, is looking at the short term. I think this is a really interesting situation to become the apparent like richest club in the world, when in reality you are a team that is got to really, I think, like tread water until January, because I think there is a massive like lack of quality in that team that it's almost how far adrift could you be in January, and then what is the strategy and the approach at that point, because it's not a case of what do we look like on paper and working off that. It's almost like what is our current status in the league, and we've got 19 games essentially to make something of the season, which is still plenty of time in the Premier League. You can win like 3 or 4 games, but I think that division's very competitive now. Other than maybe like every year, there's like 3 or 4 teams at the bottom. Other than that, the other teams are very competitive, and I think even just having a window to try and turn things around could be tricky. So I think it's a very, very interesting situation. And looking forward to seeing how they approach it. And I think it's a big test for any new ownership to come into. So what's your thoughts? How do you think they'll like navigate this like up until say January period and the January period?
Well, I'd be getting in a manager who, to be fair, they're not as extensive as they were a few years ago. But a manager who can just get you to 40 points. Like you just know they'll
like
guarantee 40 points. But Steve Bruce has been relegated twice. With
fair enough.
Hull and with Birmingham. I'm talking like Tony Pulis. I'm talking someone who won't get relegated. Just what you'll get from them, and even. But
is that then admitting you're going to stick with the current squad and you're going to like bank on them almost? Or
you're going to struggle to get like. Who are the best players you're going to get in January? It's probably going to be loan signings, I would have thought, or maybe some who are out of contract. Like I saw has been rumoured linked with Tarkowski, and I don't know if that was realistic or not, but I think he'd be a great signing in my opinion. Like the centre, we're crying out for a bit more quality at centre half, to be honest, like I'm not been. This isn't like a dig on Steve Bruce. I'm saying as a fan who's watched them a few times this season, they didn't look on Sunday like a coach team, like a team with real defensive organisation. Like I've watched the teams under Benitez. You can tell that they're organised. You can just tell if you watch enough football, you can tell when a team's organised and when they're not. And that team on Sunday weren't organised. So
after 20 minutes, they looked knackered.
They did. They were just like they were running around like headless chickens. It was like they thought, well, the atmosphere's good. We'll just get the atmosphere to carry us over the line if we score an early goal. But like you can't really do that against when you've got like Harry Kane and Ndombele on the other side. You've got to be better than that. And I don't know who that exact manager is, but I honestly think you could get more points out of this squad. I agree with you. It's not a great squad, but I think you could get more points out of them. If they were better organised and there was a better manager in charge. And I think hopefully... But I agree, I think it's difficult getting one like that. I was thinking even someone like Chris Hughton or Roy Hodgson would get more out of them, just in terms of giving them that defensive stability to go and play. Like, they've got Callum Wilson up front. If Callum Wilson stays fit for 25, 26 games, he should score a few goals. He should be hit close to double figures. Like... should get a few points out of him. I think Wilson saved him last season, so yeah. I think that there's challenges, but they can still do it. But their time's running out. Who knows? Maybe they'll even get Pardiola back in. That would be my preference, obviously.
Do you think the new board will go into it with the same kind of thought process? Do you think are they football people enough to think football's not a case of like we're going to buy our way out of this in the space of half a season? Do you think they'll have that mindset? Do you think it'll be a case of who can we pay enough money to come to us and like contribute? I mean, they're business people at the end of the day. Like they're not daft.
You think they'd be realistic, wouldn't you?
They're going to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to know to make sure that whatever contractual agreements they make come June, May, whatever, it's not going to leave them absolutely screwed over, worst comes to worst. I think you're right in what you say about the loan signings. Maybe with like commitments to buy and stuff like that, depending on like league status. Maybe that's the way they'll go at it. But yeah, I think it's such an interesting situation. Like
that January window is going to be so fun.
Yeah. If you sat 12th in the table, you're planning for next season, aren't you? You're almost like get a coach in. Who's going to stay from the existing squad? Who's like almost available who you can pick up for a fee in January ahead of like becoming a free agent. But the reality of it is it might not be that easy because it's going to be a case of
I agree with you.
Relegation battle.
It won't be that easy. We'll definitely. I mean, the thing is, if you haven't won a game by like November, you basically need to play. You need to have like Champions League form for at least a couple of months of the season, and I don't know if they've got that in them. But I'm so. Do you not think I'm kind of like on a separate note? I think if we do stay up, and it is a big if, because I agree with everything you've said, Dobby, but if we do stay up, do you not think there's a worrying trend in like neutral football fans now? Just they don't seem to want the establishment to get challenged. I feel like people would be more happy to see the Newcastle project fail than to them actually bloody the nose of Man City, Chelsea, Liverpool. I don't know. I just get the feeling that everyone's set in their ways, and everyone likes those clubs being at the top, and everyone likes those clubs not getting challenged. It doesn't matter how, because if it's going to happen, it's going to have to happen from some money from some potentially tricky owners. Realistically, it is, isn't it? Like, there's not going to be. I don't see how you take out one of those clubs without massive backing.
Yeah. I think you're right. The reality of it is that that top six is almost there to stay. That's not going to detract in any way. So it's like, do you just want teams to exist to every now and then pick up a win away at the Etihad, and we all like cream over it for a weekend, and it is brilliant to see it, like the David versus Goliath? Is that what we're happy with, or would you rather go? This is how the Premier League exists. So let's chuck another one into the heart and make it a bit more interesting. And I think that again, that's quite a nice way to look at it, because I think like you say, the reality is what the reality is now. When you've got the money that's involved, I don't think our desires to, if how we'd plan it out now is ever going to be a reality, is I think so far from it. But
it is interesting. I am looking forward to. I'm looking forward to it. I've got to say, just to see how it all unfolds. Like, I do agree with you, Jack. Like, there is an element of me that sort of hopes it fails. Really.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say, but
yeah, no.
They just stuck with that. There's an element of it that hopes it fails.
I will. There is an element of me that hopes it fails, but I'm also looking forward to the other side of maybe 7 or 8 teams going for 4 slots as opposed to 6 or 5 teams.
Well, exactly. That's got to be the correct way, hasn't it? I mean, to be fair, like Leicester City should have got in the top 4 in both the last 2 seasons, and they've, they haven't. They potentially won't have needed to spend the same money, but I don't know. I think you need competition at the top, definitely.
I just think it's a different time though to when City got it and Chelsea got that influx and the positions
that's what I'm saying. Like, because those top clubs now want to protect it, because they've seen what Chelsea and City have done, and they don't want anyone else to do it. Those traditional clubs, Arsenal, Liverpool, Man United, do not want another Chelsea or City, and like Chelsea and City probably don't really care, but they'll be happy to protect their own interests as well, I guess.
Yeah. It's got to be interesting, definitely.
Yeah. Right, I think that's going to be the end of our trip to the virtual bar. It's a forced ending anyway, because we've just had a text from Lewis Dawson and he's had a miniature power cut. How do you have a mini power cut? Surely it's a power cut or not, but either way, he's no longer in the virtual bar. He's already been carried out by the bouncer. So yeah, Trice, we're going to have to end it there, mate. And, well, hopefully it won't be as long until I see you next time.
Yeah, we'll get back. We're back on the train now, aren't we? The train's on the tracks, and more to come. I've enjoyed being back there, mate. Yeah, it's been good.
No, it's been good to speak to you again, and lots more to discuss. We'll be back next week with another episode of Playing Out from the Bar. But until then, it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from Trice.
See you, mate.
See ya. If you enjoy this shambles of a football podcast, you can get in touch with myself, Tricey, and Dobby at any of the following addresses on social media. Tricey, what are we on Twitter?
Play Out From Bar.
So that's at Play Out From Bar. And
yes.
What are we on Instagram?
Playing Out From the Bar.
Beautiful. And what are we on Facebook?
Playing Out From the Bar again.
We like to mix it up on this show.
Creative.
And we're also playing out from the bar at gmail.com if you want to send us an email. Anything football related at all. It can be a weird story, a bit like the time when Tricey met Harry Maguire in a Manchester boozer, anything along those lines, then just send it in and we'll read it out on the show and discuss it. So cheers.